All right, Erica Lorraine Spencer here. This is real-time documentation of the criminal activity of a public entity, that is the state of California, that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And as my podcast is focused on with regard to the established pattern of conduct of that public entity, the state of California, that is the state that's monitoring. This is why you're engaged in what is federal group stalking, and that is group maintenance of presence in the path, in and around the path of the targeted individual, myself. And this is a documentation of the people of the state of California. This is the significance of what is the state engaging in what is none other than stalking with light, and that is because the people of the state are engaged in group monitoring in concert and on behalf of that entity. They are vicariously stalking and monitoring. And the people of the state of California, as my documentation is focused on in this podcast, is acting via the city of Ontario. And what you have are the criminal elements as they are engaging in them and doing so using their commercial vehicles. This is with regard to that which is to be enforced against the public entity. The people of the state are the vicarious aspect of that entity. They are one. It is one group acting directly. That's the state via police, fire, ambulance, planes, and helicopters, and acting vicariously via the people of the state. And today, and like every other day, but this is just going step by step with regard to what I've documented and the significance of it, the identification of the party that is acting as I'm documenting them. And they are not acting individually. A company is not acting alone. They are a part of the same unified group. Their conduct is criminal facilitation for the state and all other third parties to engage in ongoing monitoring. So this is the city of Ontario using its commercial vehicles. And as I also move from my location from the museum to B&G Plaza and then walking to the side of the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, where the state's light source goes from literally the museum to 150 East HOLT to moving east on HOLT Boulevard, remaining over me, over the B&G Plaza. I've already documented this. This is the same conduct. And then the state's light source, which is not the sun, but this is the form, this is the guise under which the state is stalking with light. And this light source travels, I'm correcting myself because on my podcast I stated that the light source traveled west. The light source traveled from B&G Plaza to be directly over where I am sitting to aim light under this walkway where it remains for the entirety of the day. And that is migration, clear migration north in order to be over the senior center where I captured it on video, and group stalkers in their commercial vehicles acting via the city of Ontario, maintaining group presence in those commercial vehicles, maintaining audible activity, literally sounding as though they are perpetually driving in reverse. All you hear is their trucks' ongoing chorus of beeping as they are surrounding in the path, and they are creating ongoing audible activity while the state is repeatedly patrolling above by planes and helicopters. And while the state's light source is present. That is P.O.C. That is the people of the state of California. That is the people of the state of California engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring under the guise of a commercial vehicle, their trade, their business, whatever it is that they are engaged in, where the criminal elements are being systematically and ceaselessly, cooperatively engaged in. The city of Ontario engaged in what is sexually violent criminal monitoring. The city of Ontario engaged in what is criminal threatening while they are, by the way, monitoring, aware of the documentation, and engaging in that blatant stalking conduct. That's a communication of a threat by the people acting via the city of Ontario, who are present while the state is looming above in helicopters and airplanes, that same targeted conduct, and they are present, remaining all around, engaging in intentional presence, monitoring, audible, and light activity. That is also criminal facilitation by the city of Ontario, such that everyone else, meaning the people of the state that surround and the state proper, that is stalking via aircraft and by police, fire, and ambulance, are able to monitor. And so that's the significance of what I've documented. This is focusing on the people of the state acting via the city of Ontario. And it is 10:29 a.m., and that is the P.O.C. All right, it is 7:40 a.m. and I did just capture a video. And the reason why I captured it is because this is the focusing on the people of the state of California. I mean, as most of what my documentation has been as of late, so honing in on what is the stalking with light conduct, which is speaking to the operation of a system of monitoring. And as I stated, the state's light source, which is a fake sun, while Ontario Municipalities Company, California license number 40424. It's the same city of Ontario vehicles that engage in group stalking while I'm at the Ontario OVITT Family Library, as I captured yesterday. It's the same company. This is truck number 8055. This is a group stalker using this commercial vehicle for what is group stalking, and that's what I captured on the video, describing as the state's light source remains over my head, walking from the museum, planes flying over the museum as I begin walking. Planes and helicopter activity is constant at the museum. So I'm talking about my place of origin this morning when I get up, and the state's light source is directly over that venue, as I've already demonstrated. And again, that is in direct contrast with where it is. For example, we can pick any one, but let's just think about what I documented as I was walking north on Euclid Avenue, where the state's fake sun was nowhere near the museum. You're talking about as it remained directly over me at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, and as I walked north of Euclid Avenue, remaining directly over for hours, up until 11 o'clock, if you recall. It was nowhere near what is Euclid and HOLT. It was over my head, which is not the same as being over B&G Plaza, not the same as being over 150 East HOLT. It's not the same as being, or in any trajectory, how are you going to be directly over what is the city of Azusa in its zenith, remaining centrally over me at the same location. So you're talking about that, which is the state's light source, which I've already documented. And I'm showing how the people of the state of California are monitoring and doing so in commercial vehicles. This is why there is no distinction between the elements and how you are engaging in the elements. And I showed that group stalker's face, representing the people of the state of California, showed that group stalker's commercial vehicle. And guess what? They are all sex offenders. Not only is directed light molesting my person, and covering all over the sidewalk, all over the building. This is 3-star janitorial warehouse. This is the Rojas and the tax building. This is on Holt Boulevard as I'm walking east on Holt to B&G Plaza from the museum. And the state's fake sun moves from the museum, traveling east to be directly over B&G Plaza as I walk back up west. It remains directly over my head. And this is also that which is speaking to directed light, because under no circumstances is light shooting backwards in east and west and north and south as you are driving underneath that light source. All right, that's directed light. That's concerted conduct. All right, that is what third-party group stalkers, such as the other city of Ontario, sitting right here beside me at the intersection. This is group stalking via traffic. A fat white male who looks like a rapist in a commercial vehicle, 1564986, vehicle number 5569. He's been sitting at the end of what is Emporia and Lemon in relevant position. This is a psychopath that also knows that I'm documenting. He comes up, he's sitting at a stop sign. Understand they are all group stalkers. So they are maintaining presence in and around the path, maintaining light, and this is City of Ontario doing so in their commercial vehicles. That is a prosecution of not only the people of the state of California and any and every guise under which they are engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring. You are deducing intent from the impossible occurrence of what is light activity. 7GCJ 398 is a sex offender monitoring under such conditions. 8V 43814, the same. 7WXX 332, the same. Engaging in corporate invasion of privacy while I'm inside of the restroom of what is on the Ontario Health Center located at 150 East Holt. They are on the traffic cameras. This is the immediate vicinity. Again, monitoring exceeds beyond this immediate location where I am at. You're monitoring with communication devices in violation of 18 U.S.C. 2261A subsections 1 and 2, 6WIU 246. 6EMH 582. You are also engaging in that which is the concerted conduct. So as the state is stalking with its light source, they are maintaining presence in the path and creating audible activity and visible activity, while directed light is molesting my person and all over the buildings and the sidewalk, which is impossible light activity, not naturally occurring whatsoever. That's the state's engineered light for the purpose of monitoring me. So it is not only violating the targeted individual's person, this is routine conduct while they are engaged in criminal corporate molestation in order to monitor. This is another example of that which I have already shown. City of Ontario using their vehicles to do so, using their vehicles to stalk, using their vehicles in order to create light activity so that other group stalkers can better monitor me as well, and all of them acting in concert representing the state. All right, 4D42H43, that's a paper plate. 45991P2, that's a large truck. used for means of audible activity and impossible light activity, shooting what is south of that truck as it is facing east on Holt Boulevard underneath the state's fake sun, which is light activity never occurring, okay? That's called directed light. 8PTP 446 8LNJ008. This is just to show what is the violent sexual offense that the people of the state of California are routinely engaged in, and this is how you prosecute that entity. This is understanding the sexual violence inherent to their criminal conduct. 6 ETR 204. They in no way whatsoever shall, under federal law, engage in this system and in any way avoid what is routine violation of the person that they're monitoring, and intentionally so, in their private vehicles, in their commercial vehicles. All right, and these are psychopaths all under a fake sun, which they are fully aware of. Fully aware of the fact that that is engineered light that is appearing all over the surfaces as they happen to be crossing my path as well. That is P.O.C, and that's what I captured on video, and I also captured his face. He is merely representative of that entire group, the people of the state of California, which are the vicarious actors acting in concert with that entity that is molesting with light, even in the shade. This is why my reflection appears in what is supposed to be the shade. This is why you have multiple shadows, because you have more than one light source aimed onto you at all times. This is why you have shade manifesting under shaded areas, because the state is directing light. That is its engineered light. That is P.O.C. while they are maintaining presence. Let me get this group stalker. City of Ontario wanted to start. 8KZG 897. Intentionally crossing path. This is, again, what I want to reiterate is the blatant stalking conduct by a group stalker, the people of the state of California, using commercial vehicles. This is not coincidental. This is an example of how they are blatantly engaged in that which they are also monitoring. They know that I documented City of Ontario yesterday engaging in group stalking at the Senior Center. And so City of Ontario engages in driving up right now from this parking garage. Let me get this. All right, 749, I did capture that vehicle. This is the same municipalities and City of Ontario vehicles, same license number 40424. He's literally patrolling in and out, carrying a dumpster now back inside of that parking garage. This is the outward guise under which the criminal elements are engaged in. And this is why you are focusing on the elements, all right? They engage in the behavioral patterns using those same vehicles to stalk with activity, with simultaneity to my activity, not only physically, but on a communication device. That is the link to everything that they are engaged in the ways in which they are engaging in those criminal monitoring elements, while appearing to be engaged in what is outward separate conduct. But it is not separate conduct, it is all cooperative. 7LYF117, she's a psychopath. She's a sex offender, she's a stalker, and she's listening to me talk about her right now with her windows up. She knows exactly what I'm saying. It's P.O.C. I'm at B Street in Lemon. Okay, that license plate, she is not coincidentally starting her ignition as I happen to be right next to her car. That's called audible activity. Keeping activity ongoing all around your path. This is why the state stalks with light. And this is why the state, via the people of the state of California, stalk with light at night. All right, that's P.O.C. It is currently 7:51 a.m. And as I was saying, sorry, I'm dragging a luggage cart while I'm saying it, but as I was speaking to what City of Ontario engaged in, stalking with its vehicle as I exit Ontario Health Center at Lemon and Holt Boulevard, facing that intersection. So as I exit Ontario Health Center and understand maintaining light activity at that intersection in relevant position is monitoring conduct. It is also sexually violent, perverted conduct. That light activity serves the purpose of monitoring while they are corporately invading privacy, maintaining group presence in the path. All right, that is not only monitoring conduct, that is perverted, predatory, sexually violent conduct while you are monitoring an American citizen. Because monitoring does not stop when you're in the bathroom, when your clothes are removed and they're listening to everything that you do. And they are engaged in ongoing monitoring, just in case you happen to pull out a cell phone out of your genitalia or something. License plate 8PNT432. Group stalker getting out of his car as I am right in his path, using his car alarm as a means of audible activity.
and sounding it again as I turn around to read his license plate. Wearing a red hoodie, blue jeans, white tennis shoes, and a white face mask and a hat. Going into 280 North Lemon Apartments. Probably acting as though he's going to see his grandmother while he's group stalking. All right, that is P.O.C. I'm at OVITT Family Community Library, 215 East C Street, where the state's fake sun remains all day long. Okay? Now, how it engages in, or how do you reconcile that it remains here all day long? But at the same time, it's over, at the same time that I've documented its presence here and everywhere else all day long where I remain, directly over me, aiming light directly onto the environment for the entirety of the day. And also then in an entirely different location in that same position directly over me. That is the ongoing cumulative documentation of what is stalking with light. You have already witnessed what is that which is stalking with light. The fact of the matter is, I'm not asking a question that I don't know the answer to. It is not a matter of the state's light source, because that's what it is. It's not the sun. It's not a matter of the state's light source not being present. It's not a matter of the state's light source being present both over me at the McDonald's in the city of Azusa in Los Angeles County at 2:14 p.m. when at the same time at D Street in Euclid, where I'm sitting at a bus stop in the city of Ontario, it is captured clearly above the street sign, above the bus stop hood, as I am sitting there and remain there for hours. That is not the question. I'm not posing that question as though I don't know the answer. I'm not posing that question as though it is even a legitimate one. I am entertaining every implausible argument. The fact of the matter is I have captured pictures of what is the moving light source, which is not the sun. Meaning as I walk from one side of the parking lot to another and I take a picture of where I was just at, for example, let's use B&G Plaza or Ontario Village Shopping Center. You can pick any venue, but let's just use B&G Plaza. That is not the state's light source that is present at all times everywhere you go. It is clearly moving, and I've captured that already. I've captured as I walk from one side of a parking lot to another, one building to another. It is not in the same place. That is literally the stalking with light, moving that light. This is why it is not both present directly over me in McDonald's in the city of Azusa and at the same time directly over the property of 2301 South Euclid Avenue, Economy Inn in Ontario, and also at the same time over the apartment number 51 at Woodside Senior Apartments, and also over Mercy House, third-party facilitating venue located at 435 South Bonneview in Ontario, and also not over what is 215 East C Street, the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, let alone over the Ontario Town Square, or let alone, let's just say, Ontario Village. I have shown how it is not at that same place. It is engaged in real-time movement. You can use where I'm at right now on the side of the library, where I walk from the senior center, and it is captured directly over that building. And as I walk to the opposite edge, meaning at the turn circle where C Street and Lemon is inside of this plaza, facing 280 North Lemon Apartments, and I capture it no longer over the senior center. It is not there. It is engaged in real-time movement. That is the state dragging a light source to remain relative to me for purposes of monitoring, literally stalking with a light source. And that is the evidence of what I am showing. I'm not asking a question as to suggest in any way that it is possible that it is directly over my head in the city of Azusa or all those other aforementioned addresses that I have already documented. It is clearly not. I've shown how the state is engaged in real-time movement with its light source. That in and of itself, understand, is directly incriminating the people of the state of California who are intensely engaged in paranoid level psychopath stalking. In the same manner that the state is literally moving step by step with a light source, the people of the state of California are engaged in step-by-step group cooperative stalking, making sure they are manning the path in every direction, all right? And doing so in their private vehicles and in commercial vehicles, while, mind you, that which is not the sun is maintaining presence directly over me. And that which is not light naturally occurring, it is engineered light, not even in any way conforming to the state's location of its fake sun. Because under no circumstances is that going to result. But secondly, I've documented where the state's fake sun is on a clearly opposite side, and yet you've got light that is manifesting underneath a shaded walkway. I mean, covering that entirety of where I'm standing, and I'm showing you my shadow appearing on the walls and on the ceiling. That's engineered light. That's called directed light. That's what the people of the state of California are engaged in, and intentionally so, and they are psychopaths. They are listening to every word that I am saying. Okay, while they keep driving around in their commercial vehicles and acting like they're focused on something else, they are entirely focused on me. And that behavioral pattern is what dictates that. And not only that, for purposes of federal prosecution, the elements are what control. You are speaking to the malicious system, and this is why you prosecute the people. You prosecute all the guises under which the people monitor American citizens, and they use their company names, they use their company vehicles, they use their company buildings, wherever, for example, walking into Wells Fargo, that's a business. They're all monitoring when the target individual goes inside of there. I mean, not only, I don't have to be inside of Wells Fargo to be monitored. They're monitoring me while I remain here at the library. They're in relevant position. The state is concentrating its light source. The state is maintaining activity. The state is flying over the Wells Fargo as well, creating substantial audible activity. All right. The state is engaging in molesting and directing light in ridiculous manners because they are monitoring. But I'm just giving you an example. Using that business means of Wells Fargo while you're walking in there, the target individual, and you are monitoring under the guise of engaging in business under that name, under that logo, under that brand, that too shall be exposed as that which is engaged in monitoring American citizens, that company representing the people of the state through whom that public entity monitors systematically American citizens. That's what this documentation shows, and that is the entirety, the comprehensive prosecution, because every single last one of them engaged in the same. This is inclusive of City of Ontario is demonstrating what all of them are doing. It's the same exact P.O.C. I'm showing how it is indistinct with regard to whether you are in your little Honda Civic or whether you're in your shiny Mercedes Benz. You're the same psychopath, sex offending group stalker, intentionally monitoring on behalf of a government. You represent the government, and you are entirely threatening in doing so. And then you are engaging in that routine conduct of violating the person while you're molesting with the state that's directing light all over my person in the fake sun. You're touching all over me, and you are an incredibly threatening stalker. You're a psychopath who has no business touching whatsoever, let alone stalking and monitoring. That is going toward prosecution, all right? And that is going toward City of Ontario. That is going toward Omnitrends. That is going toward FedEx, UPS. That is going toward every single brand that has engaged in monitoring. And these are just examples of how a public entity, understand this entire case is not only a real prosecution to occur, but it is a template for what public entities use and how they are cooperatively monitoring American citizens with the people of whatever state that is. This is how the government does it, all right? And you are stripping it down. This is why the elements control. It is an entirely malicious system operated by psychopaths who have serious issues, which is to be addressed at punishment. Engaging in this system is clear demonstration that you have some mental issues that need to be assessed, in addition to the fact of all the other federal repercussions that will precipitate from a public entity monitoring, from that sexual violence that you're engaged in, from that malicious conduct, from the knowledge that you have while you're monitoring, who engages in that sort of criminal conduct, and then that target individual knows and you're continuing to engage in it. This is nothing that in any way, the state's continuing stalking with its light source. The third parties, the people of the state of California engaging in that continuous pattern of conduct of stalking is in no way demonstrating whatsoever that they're not monitoring. It's demonstrating a psychopath, okay? Monitoring is monitoring. The evidence is already established, it's already published, and it is already established what the state is engaged in and how and who it is engaged in concert with. You are talking about that which is speaking to the mental issues, and that is attributed to the group, all right? It's an identical behavioral pattern shared by the government. The government is the one that is operating that system, and the government is acting vicariously through the people of the state. And the people of the state use all manner of guises in order to engage in those same criminal elements. And they thereby subject their own brands, their own companies to that public exposure as the criminal companies and predatory institutions that they are. They are not on the side of American citizens. They are monitoring. They are oppressing. They are sexually violating. They are engaged in that which is of a psychopath, just doing it under the name of a company. That needs to be known. All right, that shall be known. And this is demonstrating the reason why it is so vital to recognize what are the elements and the ways in which those elements are engaged in. Okay, it is 8:02 a.m. and that City of Ontario engaged in stalking, maintaining presence, aware of my arrival and anticipating my arrival, stalking the entire time. And that is just speaking to what is an ongoing threat communicated by the City of Ontario. That is going toward prosecution. Engaging in not only the elements of monitoring, but doing so blatantly while they are aware of the fact that I'm documenting them. They're monitoring that content and engaging in this, which is blatant stalking conduct. That's a communication of a threat and reasonably construed as such. That is attributed, and that is a criminal act of obstruction of justice while you are monitoring the targeted individual. That is what City of Ontario engaged in. That's what they want me to document about the truth of that company, and that's what shall be published, and that is what shall go toward the prosecution of the people of the state, because that's what the people of the state engage in corporately, and that is what the City of Ontario engaged in. That is the legal analysis relevant to the conduct that they are intentionally and knowingly and maliciously engaged in, and that is P.O.C, by the way. It's 8:03 a.m.
All right, it's 10:30 a.m. and the audible activity that is surrounding right now, and this is under the state's fake sun, which is remaining directly over this building to the side. And mind you, it's over the senior center where I'm sitting. As I walk to the entrance area of the library, the state's fake sun is no longer over the senior center. It is then over 280 North Lemon Apartments, moving as I move, okay? City of Ontario, in relevant position, in real-time knowledge of what I'm doing on my communication device, sitting around literally stalking like a psychopath, only in a commercial vehicle, no difference. Literally using their vehicle with the ongoing beeping while the state is creating audible activity flying over by helicopter. And the moment that I go to this recording function, the beeping stops. That's why you don't hear it right now. That's not coincidence. That's P.O.C. Understand it's the same behavioral pattern. The third party in that commercial vehicle stopping the sound of the beeping that you do not hear right now is not evidence stating that they are not engaged in it. When I am saying, as I have already established, that such and such is happening, that's exactly what I have demonstrated is happening. And seconds before I press record, that's exactly what they were doing. And that's what they've been doing for the past 2 hours since I have been seated at the side of the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, ongoing group stalking by the City of Ontario, representing the people of the state. The same psychopath level stalking and monitoring. It's 10:32 a.m. All right, it is 10:33 a.m. I just want to go ahead and recite the license plates of these group stalkers, who are the ones that are using their van at the senior center. They're just patrolling in and out, making noise. 3 females I see walking around with the City of Ontario van. They're psychopaths and they're stalking under a fake sun. They're loading stuff inside of the senior center. They're using this van as a means of beeping. They're reversing. They're facing forward, but they're reversing, as I was stating. And they're supposedly moving stuff in and out. It really does not matter. I'm going to take a picture of what is the state's fake sun right over the senior center, and this is how you are looking at what is the elements as they're engaged in them. It's license 1212722, and it is 10:34 a.m. right now. We're going to go ahead and take a picture of that. And that... P.O.C. These are group stalkers. Impossible light activity as they're opening and closing their doors. Patrolling in and out of the building. She's crossing paths. And let me show you what is impossible light activity. That's impossible light activity. That's the state's engineered light that I'm taking a picture of. Right? That's P.O.C. And this is the fake sun that they're right here underneath. All right, so this is what you want to pay attention to. They're sitting here in relevant position, maintaining presence in the path. These are psychopaths, sex offenders, monitoring American citizens in commercial vehicles. That's P.O.C. All righty. Get that impossible light activity. Oh, hold on. Let's get that. Let me tell you what's going on right now. The state is tampering with my phone saying recording failed. That is P.O.C. as well. Okay, what I was capturing was video of the impossible light activity as it is moving across the brick wall in the shade while those group stalkers are moving in van number 5542. That's P.O.C. Their license plate is clearly captured, and I recited it on the I want to get a screenshot of the recording failed because there's absolutely nothing wrong with my phone. That's P.O.C. That is also incriminating. This is also speaking to what you're looking at. And this is the fake sun that is no longer on the opposite side where the shaded area is. Let me take a picture of where I was at. I want to take a picture so you can see. I clearly captured video. The state's fake sun is facing on the opposite side of the senior center, aiming light underneath, remaining present. And as I walk over here to get City of Ontario, the people of the state using their commercial vehicles to group stalk and monitor, and like psychopaths in a commercial vehicle, you have what is the state's fake sun on the opposite side. So this is what is directly above. All right, all of this is that which serves to prosecute the people of the state. Okay, the state's fake sun is basically it's 2 hours later as well. That is also common sense. It's 2 hours over the same building. That's the sun that's supposed to be moving very quickly as I walk from one place to another in the same parking lot, let alone here in the same plaza. And you also have what is the state's fake sun that is in Azusa. And if I sat at that McDonald's all day long, understand the state's fake sun would be over that McDonald's all day long, feigning as though it is rising at that McDonald's and engaging in feigning as though the sun is setting at that McDonald's. That's the state's pattern of conduct with stalking with light, okay, at every venue that I've been to. That's P.O.C. This is the federal group stalking and monitoring conduct by the City of Ontario, acting vicariously on behalf of that entity. That's P.O.C. All right, I did capture video of what is the same actor. It is of the same group, the people of the state. I am showing the guises under which the people of the state engage in systematic monitoring, vicariously acting on behalf of the public entity. And this is group stalking and monitoring engaged in by the City of Ontario using their vehicles chiefly as a means of audible and light activity while they are maintaining group presence and doing so under what is the state's light source, which is remaining, as I was capturing, in the exact same position. And in direct conflict with every other position, and that which is to logically follow based on what you understand about the sun. And this is hours as I am sitting at the same location. This is the same documentation. I am just pointing out how you are looking at what the City of Ontario is engaged in. Those hallmarks, that ongoing behavioral pattern is what is prefacing what the people are engaged in. The people are acting via City of Ontario. And as I captured in this latest video, are the two City of Ontario trucks. They were engaged in maintaining presence, sitting on the opposite side where the Page 1 Cafe is, in the truck, in relevant position. That's called being in alignment. Understand, a wall, a ceiling, a door is no obstruction for purposes of monitoring. So the same thing with regard to the corporate invasion of privacy and monitoring inside of the bathroom. Maintaining light activity in alignment to the targeted individual outside of the bathroom is monitoring. And it is intentional placement. It is intentional light activity for purposes of monitoring while they maintain real-time knowledge of what you are doing inside of that bathroom, even going inside of the bathroom. That is the people of the state in order to create activity all around. So City of Ontario is sitting in alignment at the Page 1 Cafe area, crossing path and driving what is into the plaza past me as I'm capturing it on video, light activity on their trucks as the state is doing what it is doing now, flying over, and that's what I was capturing in the video. That is P.O.C. That is the ongoing monitoring conduct. Understand, they're just doing it in cars. The group stalkers are doing that inside of the library. They're doing that It's at the 280 North Limit Apartments, coming in and out, walking past, sitting all around. They're monitoring. That's all they are doing. And I am showing you how you are looking at the elements. And as you hear that plane that's flying over that I referenced, what you have is light that is appearing out of nowhere, a flash of light. That's called directed light. That is state conduct. What you are looking at in the images that I have uploaded with regard to the van of the three young ladies, they're group stalkers. They are acting on behalf of the state, and the state's fake sun is directly over that van. Understand, even if that was the sun, which it is already established, that is not the sun, that's a light source. However, and it is directly above the van. What you have and what you hear is them closing the doors. You hear 1, 2, 3, you hear them closing the doors. They're creating audible activity and doing so while what is directed light is on the ground. That's what I took pictures of. That's engineered light. That is not sunlight. That is not a reflection. While the light source, again, is above the van, you see the light shining on the top of the van, but what you see are the shadows that are appearing on the ground as this engineered light is aimed onto the asphalt. That is not occurring from what is supposed to be sunlight above that van. Understand, that is the same directed light, that engineered light that the state molests my person with and covers the surrounding surfaces. This is the same engineered light that is covering this covered walkway beside the library. The state is aiming light all around the surfaces. That's P.O.C. All right, and that's what you're looking at in the images. And this is while they are engaging in what is that which is related to their trade, to that brand, to that company, City of Ontario, using that as a means of engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring. And this is the systematic means through which the people of the state monitor on behalf of and in concert with the public entity. This is that which is embedded into society. This is occurring everywhere you go. The same exact criminal elements underway at the grocery store, on the freeway, inside of your residence, even inside of an apartment complex, inside of a jail, okay, inside of a courtroom, inside of a courthouse, all right? This is occurring on transit, on a train, on a bus, while you're walking down the street. You are seeing how all the elements are present and how those same hallmarks are present. And this is prefacing what the people of the state of California are engaged in. And what you also are going to see, now referencing, the latest video, because I was speaking to two videos, the ones with the van where I'm capturing the directed light directly by the doors, and they're slamming their doors. They're intentionally creating audible activity while impossible light activity is appearing on the surfaces. That's what I captured in the shade, all right? While the state's fake sun is directly above the van, okay? This is the video I'm speaking of as I'm capturing City of Ontario driving past me as the state is flying over, and they are acting in concert with the state. What you are also going to see is the other hallmark is police presence, all right? And I reference them and you see them. Understand this is P.O.C. And that is ongoing monitoring. Even in conversation, the state engaged in that same conduct. I'm still present under the state's light source. Engineered light is surrounding on the surfaces. They are in relevant position. Even the conversation is audible activity while, mind you, the state is flying directly over repeatedly while I'm in conversation with Ontario police. Understand that is P.O.C. They happen to be the police officers who I have had mind you, surfaced jovial conversation with. This is the same entity that is monitoring, and so you are talking about the guise under which they are present in my path and creating audible activity, and that is the state acting directly as City of Ontario drives past, and I'm documenting that conduct. Understand, that's the state acting vicariously. It is P.O.C. It's 11:12 a.m. That is okay, it's 1:16 p.m. And what I captured in pictures What I captured on audio first, let's start there, which is what the state is doing right now, the same pattern as I press record, flying over again in a plane. That's what I captured in pictures as City of Ontario was sitting in relevant position in between 280 North Women and the Senior Center, and the state was flying over in a UPS plane. That was all that I documented, and this is the same P.O.C. repeated. What I was focused on is the ongoing presence of the third-party group stalkers engaging in the exact same behavioral pattern, acting in concert with a state that is stalking with light, this light source remaining present over what is 280 North Lemon Apartments, and that's also what I was discussing. It does not seem as though I captured that, so I want to reiterate what I was speaking to as I was taking pictures of the state flying over with City of Ontario remaining in relevant position under the state's fake sun, which has for hours since a little before 8 a.m., the state's fake sun, remaining over the same building. And what I was focused on is how this is that which is impossible light activity, and it is also coinciding with that which is inevitably tethered to. You're looking at the people of the state of California while the state is engaged in stalking with activity via aircraft, meaning as I press record on my phone, the state flies over audibly. It's already present. It's stalking via aircraft. It's maintaining relevant position. The state is group stalking by plane, okay, and doing so in third-party planes. That is a means of federal prosecution of UPS, which is the commercial plane that flew directly over while the state's fake sun is directly over, while also City of Ontario is directly in front of me in alignment. Understand, this is group stalking and monitoring. I captured a picture of the third-party group stalker, the white male, who frequently engages in group stalking. He is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. It is not individual conduct, it's group conduct, but this particular individual that is a part of that group frequently engages in group stalking where I am and hollering and walking around, which is audible activity while he's monitoring. So it is, that's who I'm capturing walking past. Understand that is the exact same conduct as City of Ontario. Maintaining presence in the path. He is crossing paths. City of Ontario is remaining in alignment, creating noise while doing so, creating light activity while doing so. If you pay attention to the video, what you see is them closing their doors, audible activity, lights on the vehicle turn on. Everything that they are doing is intentional conduct, all right? And this is that which they engage in while I sit. And this is, understand, this is the template. This is the conduct that you're focused on. I am showing how the people of the state engage in the pattern of conduct under any guise, under wearing a uniform, at their job at the grocery store, for example, or in the library, for example, working at an apartment complex, working in a jail. Understand they're monitoring. And this is the strip down of that criminal system. So you're understanding City of Ontario and that third-party group stalker on foot are engaged in the same concerted conduct, maintaining group presence of the path. The state is flying over, which is entirely targeted conduct, and they are acting in concert with that entity, and it goes beyond those two actors. The City of Ontario represents the people of the state. That's the City of Ontario is the guise under which the people of the state are monitoring, all right? And so you prosecute for that criminal system, for that criminal engagement on behalf of a government, but you also prosecute the guise under which they want to engage in monitoring American citizens, and so that company, that brand shall be exposed as such. This is UPS flying over my head. That's the state acting with third parties, providing instrumentalities of federal group stalking and monitoring, which is also a facility of interstate commerce, okay? Not only I.I.S. federal legislation, as you are understanding how the public entity maliciously monitors American citizens with the people of the state, but also existing federal law, 18 U.S.C. section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. Stalking in airplanes, using third-party instruments that are provided to the state in order to do so. Also communicating a great threat while doing so. UPS also using its vehicles to monitor American citizens. Engaging in that while it has ongoing real-time knowledge of that which it is monitoring, i.e. the documentation that is speaking to a psychopath engaged in the same sexual violence. Understand the state is molesting me with light while UPS vehicles are driving past me, which is impossible light activity, which is the deduction of intent. That's the probative of the system itself. Understand, while, mind you, have what is supposed to be a sun, which I have demonstrated is not, the state is stalking with this light source. This is all speaking to and incriminating for that federal prosecution of the people of the state, and every single company you want to monitor American citizens with, by, via, and every guise under which any location, any business, any uniform, anything related to your trade, whatever it is, even calling yourself a mother while you are monitoring that which you bore into the world, there is no guise under which federal group stalking and monitoring is concealed. And this is the comprehensive prosecution of that system, and this is how it engages in that. This is why and how the public entity goes to the far extent of kidnapping the targeted individual, because this is never, ever, ever intended to be revealed. Understand that. This is why you go through such criminal extent. Not only, I mean, to monitor, that's a whole other thing, but to conceal it, that's criminal obstruction of justice, and that is by the state acting directly. That's the police, that's law enforcement, that's ambulance, fire. They represent the state, engaged in kidnapping as well, engaged in criminal defamation, engaged in criminal obstruction of justice via the court system. They're engaged in kidnapping. They're engaged in criminal obstruction of justice via fictitious and or malicious prosecutions where you are monitoring. You don't have any probable cause to arrest. You don't have any probable cause to prosecute. You're engaged in criminal activity, and you're not going to somehow combine the two. You don't have any legal jurisdiction whatsoever. It's a criminal system in operation. And understand, those acts in the court, those acts by law enforcement, those acts by the jail is criminal obstruction of justice, while, mind you, you're being monitored by police, you're being monitored by the jails where they are kidnapping you and keeping you, you're being monitored in the court where they are kidnapping you and perpetuating fictitious charges and prosecutions in order to keep you in that kidnapped state. While, mind you, the people of the state of California are in those jails, in those courtrooms, all right, monitoring. It is federal prosecution from beginning to end. There is no guise under which it is anything other than that, and that's what the evidence also shows. And so that's what I was capturing in images. UPS plane flying over, City of Ontario in alignment, the people of the state of California through a third-party group stalker just walking past. That is not just walking past, it's light activity under the state's concentrated light. And the same as you hear a group stalker in the background pushing a cart on the sidewalk, they're creating light activity, walking under the state's concentrated light, they're creating audible activity. Understand that is the same conduct as a City of Ontario using its vehicles for beeping incessantly. It's noise under light in relevant position. It is P.O.C. All right. This is the prosecution of the people of the state comprehensively, and every guise under which they engage in that. And so that's what I was capturing in pictures. And unfortunately, in real time, I think I missed some of that, but I'm reiterating that which it was just moments ago. And what I was also focused on is that which also is pointing to what everyone in relevant position, meaning the people of the state, are engaged in. While the state's fake sun has been present over the same building, literally, as I capture it over the senior center, as I capture it on the other opposite side of the senior center, directly over the van, as I'm catching the group stalking females in the City of Ontario, that was the fake sun directly over the van, and back over to the opposite side of what is the senior center, as I go to the front of the turn circle at C and Lemon facing the entrance. I'm sorry, with my back to the entrance of the Ontario OVITT Family Library. Moments later, you have it not remaining for those 2+ hours toward the back end over the senior center. It's then all of a sudden it's directly over 280 North Lemon Apartments. Understand that is vacillating in physical location. I'm not taking a picture of its relative location over the senior center from that library location. I'm taking a picture of it directly over my head. And this is that which I have already documented. This is showing how City of Ontario, all they're doing is driving in a vehicle that says City of Ontario. Now, City of Ontario, this is relevant because this is a company, this is a business, if you will. This is a brand, if you will, engaged in monitoring American citizens, and understand that this is no different than what the people of the state corporately are engaged in. That is the entirety of the system. I am showing how there is no deviation whatsoever from the state stalking with light, while City of Ontario is engaged in relevant positioning, audible activity creation, and light activity creation. Stalking with activity with simultaneity to my physical and activity on a communication device, the exact same behavioral pattern, the absence of coincidence. While, mind you, the state's engaged in that same targeted conduct. Not only is its fake sun remaining, which is impossible, over the same senior center, we're talking about for a series of hours from, we'll just say 8 o'clock, but it was before 8 o'clock that I captured the video, and I'm speaking in real time on my podcast as to the presence of the state's fake sun over the senior center. Understand, later in the morning before I went into the library, which is after 11 a.m., I'm capturing it in the same exact location. Okay, and that's because I walked back there capture it directly over my head, and then I walk to the opposite end where 280 North Lemon Apartments are, and I capture it directly over my head. That is in no way whatsoever the Sun in City of Ontario engaging in the criminal elements under all of the same circumstances. This is that which is shared by any brand you want to name, any company you want to name. There is no deviation whatsoever, and this is why federal prosecution is indiscriminate. This is why it does not matter what you claim to be doing, which there is going to be no claim. I am fully anticipating every argument that you can present with regard to establishing the reality of the public entity, the government, monitoring American citizens, and it is a vast system engaged in by the people of the state as they are doing whatever it is that they do, whatever it is that they may even be paid to do. Understand the criminal elements remain underway. Where I am monitoring is underway, and that is the focus, as opposed to any legally irrelevant claim as to you being at your job. Well, you're at your job and you're monitoring American citizens, and you and that company or whatever it is you claim to be working for shall be prosecuted accordingly, period. I mean, that is how that's going to work. It needs to be known that UPS is engaged in monitoring American citizens, engaged in criminally threatening. Stalking by airplane, that is the most extreme, unheard of conduct, but that's exactly what they're doing. All right. Alaska Airlines, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, FedEx planes over my head, Amazon Prime planes over my head, very targeted conduct everywhere that I go. All right. Those are third parties. They are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. That is the pattern of conduct, period. All right. And it is the same for the use of their vehicles. It is the same for the use of their employees, wearing that brand, wearing that company name while you are engaged in monitoring. So you are focused on the elements. What controls are the elements. Monitoring is occurring wherever the target individual is at. That's where it is. That's why the state is stalking with the light source where I am, not at the corporate office where Amazon is located. It's where I am. This is where monitoring is ongoing in relevant position to the targeted individual. Okay, that's P.O.C. So it is currently 1:28 p.m. And that was just ongoing documentation of the people of the state acting via City of Ontario flying over my head. That is the people of the state acting via UPS, all right, acting in concert with the state. That is the people of the state that you see, the tall white male in the, I believe, cargo shorts walking east past me on the sidewalk. All of them underneath the same fake sun. All of them under the same circumstances of the state stalking via aircraft with the UPS logo on it is no different at all. Flying over 280 North Lemon Apartments, flying over me everywhere that I am at. It is 1:29 p.m. and that is P.O.C. It's currently 1:33 p.m. And this is the hours of the state remaining, as I stated this morning, remaining here as I'm on the side of the library because I'm here. We're just speaking to monitoring. I just want to make just a minor point. The video that you clearly see the state's light source above my head in the city of Azusa, which is in Los Angeles County, which is very far from here. Understand the state's light source, which is captured at 2:12 p.m. And mind you, the entire route driving from Ontario to Azusa, the state's fake sun remaining over the car. Light on my face, on my body the entire time as the light source is continuously aimed inside of the vehicle as I am en route to what is Azusa, ultimately where I get out and I'm capturing the state's fake sun at 2:12 p.m. I just want to be clear. It's 1:34 p.m. now, and this is not there whatsoever. This is the state's fake sun where it has remained, where I captured in the latest video. Understand this is not even close, and I'm not seeing the sun over 280 North Lemon Apartments or the senior center or the sidewalk in between the two, where it is also squarely over my head at the intersection of Powell and Alasta in Azusa, California. You are not looking at the same. That is not the same. That is mutually exclusive, and that is P.O.C. That in and of itself is what I'm speaking to, and it's 1:35. Just want to point that out, yeah, and captured at 2:12 p.m. In an entirely different county. But I have already documented that. If you want to recall my
already published documentation. The state's fake sun directly over me at Broadway and College, understand, when I'm in Los Angeles. While, mind you, the state was swarming above, following me by helicopter as I walked down Broadway and as I walked down Alameda. The state engaged in that same exact conduct with, again, the sun, which is supposed to be an actual sun. It's squarely over my head, remaining in the window that I'm on the Metrolink, meaning keeping its position onto my seat, onto my person as I'm traveling on the train going to Los Angeles. That's the Metrolink train, understand, Federal Group Stalking and Monitoring, and the train is a facility of interstate commerce. And the state flying in my window by plane and helicopter. I published all this on video already. That is also that which is mutually exclusive to what the state engages in. And so understand, remaining here for hours over 280 North Lemon Apartments is also as impossible as it being at 435 South Bonneview from rising in the morning before the sunrise, quote unquote, 8-something in the morning, and yet it is here. You are not looking at the sun directly over your head, both in the city of Azusa and in the city of Ontario, or you can fill in the blank. The sun is not remaining directly over your head all day long, everywhere that you go. This is what the public entity engages in because it's monitoring with the people of the state of California who have minor children, and they're engaged in monitoring American citizens, okay? They're sickos engaging in this criminal system, which is entirely demented, all right? And that's the reality of what they're engaged in, because standing at Alosta and Powell with the sun over my head is not coexisting with standing underneath the side of the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library with the sun directly over my head, all right? It is not coexisting. That's called stalking with light, and that is P.O.C. It's 1:37 p.m. That is the state that is stalking, using their sirens as I'm uploading the podcast. The state is also flying over me right now in aircraft, inaudibly. And the state is aiming its engineered light, the directed light, underneath the shaded area. And this is day 2 of the city of Ontario turning on the lights in the hallway in the middle of the day for adding light activity. That's P.O.C. Just giving you an example of P.O.C. And that's the sirens. Understand, they're literally just sitting around and sounding sirens on their emergency vehicles. That is to be addressed under federal law. All the ways in which the public entity engages in abuse of its resources, the government itself and their positions, and the ways in which they use them to systematically monitor that criminal misuse of those emergency vehicles, that shall be a means of federal prosecution. It's currently 4:41 p.m. and that is P.O.C. All right, I did just capture some video and pictures, but what I want to speak to is right now it is 5:05 p.m. About 45 seconds ago, I captured what is the ongoing stalking by the state, flying at low elevation over 280 North Lemon Apartments. Understand the planes and the helicopter activity and I think the light source, which is not the sun. You can clearly see how it is hovering. I am not I'm not zooming in or anything. I do when I want you to see something in particular for emphasis of what I may be speaking of. But as I am present, as I observe the surroundings and what the pattern of conduct, the state is engaged in a low-hanging, hovering light source that remains, not only does it remain all day long, but it literally migrates in every direction in real time as I move. And at 5:04 p.m., what I captured in the midst of that video as I was speaking to what is the state's light source that has remained all day long. Like I told you this morning at 7:45, 8 a.m., it remains all day long, and that's exactly what it did. Remaining here, physically visible, over literally the building, the senior center, back to 280 North Lemon Apartments, back to the senior center, in between 280 North Lemon and the senior center, and then back to 280 North Lemon Apartments as I capture it later in the afternoon. And you're talking about what is supposed to be some migration west from the senior center to 280 North Lemon Apartments after I had already captured it over to 280 North Lemon Apartments. As I'm going inside of the library, it's literally moving back and forth. So wherever I am is where its starting point is, and then the state engaged in this negligible migration west. It's absolutely ridiculous light activity, not just impossible. It's P.O.C. for monitoring. And what I was capturing in that video is, pay attention, that's the helicopter. This is directly incriminating everything I document about City of Ontario, Ontario OVITT Family Library,
The group stalkers that I'm capturing on picture and video, they're all monitoring under the state's fake sun, which remains present over the same property, while the state is flying over, literally over where I am sitting, where this impossible light activity is present, and group stalkers are surrounding in the library, in the parking lot. What I captured in that video was the presence of the state's fake sun, and speaking to the fact of its ongoing existence in the same location for the entirety of the day. That is not the sun, and the sun is not over the library, as is the sun is not over 435 South Bonneview all day long, as is the sun is not physically over standing at the property of McDonald's in Azusa. I'm using this as an example because that is a plain, clear example of this is not the ubiquitous central physical presence of the sun over your head everywhere you're going, and it literally remained from Ontario Senior Center to the Ontario Town Square in the middle of the day. What you have is what is supposed to be the sun that's above the structure. And like I was speaking to in the video, Ontario OVITT Family Community Library has a covering over the entrance. It's got a broad entrance which is covered, all right? That's a third-party psychopath that is using its engine. That's noise, that's audible activity, and that's called stalking with activity. What I did is I touched this brick wall. It was a new movement, and that's called stalking with activity. That is a psychopath. That's what the people of the state of California engage in routinely. All right? And as it is a pattern, as you are frequently experiencing it day in and day out, that's how you understand what the people all around you are engaged in. Because that is a pattern with a whole bunch of strangers. That's how you get to what is federal group stalking and monitoring. Like, back to what I was saying, what you have is the ongoing remaining presence of the state's light source. And in the afternoon, while it is above the structure of the library, you don't have the sun that's on the sidewalk. It's not on the curb. It's directed light is there, but it's not underneath the structure. It's above the structure. And in addition to that, I even capture video before and after I exit, and what you're looking at is the state's fake sun, which, mind you, it's engaged in moving it all around as I move. But still, you're looking at what it is, where it is over the 280 North Lemon Apartments. That's what you see. And I'm speaking to what is the presence of impossible light activity as the state keeps its fake sun, which is over the buildings. So how are you getting light into the depths of the buildings? Hello, group stalker. Into the depths of the building, inside, through the onto the elevator, onto the ground, onto the bathroom side wall, while you are walking in into the library. That's impossible light activity. Do you understand that? Even if that was the sun that was remaining over 280 North Lemon Apartments, do you understand that that structure covering the entrance of the library, that is that which the state is aiming inside of the venue? Why is the state aiming light inside of Ontario OVITT Family Community Library? The same reason why these group stalkers sitting in their offices inside of the library, that I'm sitting on under the walkway, and the group stalker wearing a security uniform engaging in crossing path, and they're crossing path on the inside of the building as well, because they're all monitoring. That's why. And that's what I was speaking to with regard to the sexual violence. They're monitoring inside of that building. They're monitoring while you're inside of the bathroom of that building. They're monitoring outside of the building as well while you're inside of the bathroom. And I'm just speaking to that moment of being in the bathroom. They're monitoring, period. This is why you have what is supposed to be the sun over the building, and what you have is the presence of impossible light activity inside of the building in the afternoon. But hold up, you also want to recall what I've already documented. The state engages in not only keeping its fake sun present over the same location all day long. I also documented what was substantial light as the state is, quote unquote, setting the sun over the same location, by the way. All right, so you've got what is impossible light activity. Understand that's not occurring. And even when the quote-unquote sun is setting, it is not so low such that you have this light that is directed into the depths of the venue. What I'm breaking down is what is the pattern of conduct of monitoring. And you are stalking with lighting. This is the common sense breakdown of what you're looking at. You do not assume where the public entity is monitoring, and it's monitoring when you're being stalked by aircraft, when you're being stalked by police, fire, and ambulance. And stalking is defined as being everywhere that you are. And I don't know you, I'm not welcoming you, I have no rapport with you, I don't even know you, but you're engaged in stalking. And they engage in group stalking by being present at the traffic light, being present while they're doing some sort of traffic stop where you happen to be in relevant position. They're maintaining presence while they're entertaining what is perhaps what a tow truck, some sort of car collision where they're maintaining presence. They're in the parking lot as you're driving down the street. They're just standing around talking to the people of the state around you while they're present, while you are driving, while you're walking. This is why I started documenting the police. Okay? While that third-party group stalker wearing the security uniform is walking through the unit, his shadow was appearing on the columns underneath this walkway. Understand, that's directed light. That's light activity under the state's concentrated light, and that is also that which is impossible to be occurring. Do you understand that? That is the same behavioral pattern. He's just wearing a security guard outfit, monitoring. All right. Listening to every word that I'm talking about, him and all the rest of them inside of the library are engaged in. Okay. But that's called P.O.C. And it is currently 5:13 p.m. And what you have is light remaining on the same surfaces where I remain for the entirety of the day. I will estimate it to, I'll even be generous because it was before 8 a.m. and the state's fake sun is over the senior center. Understand, even in the afternoon, it is remaining over the same building. Okay, the senior center is right next to 280 North Lemon Apartments. Not only is the sun not physically over the senior center or 280, this is not the sun. You have it remaining over the same building for a series of hours. If that was the sun is not remaining over the building all day long. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is that which is irreducible direct evidence of stalking with light. And the state has no other option other than to continue to monitor my evidence against it. It is an inevitable federal prosecution. This is a strip down of the literally idiotic tactics that they engage in while you are looking at what are psychopaths. Psychopaths, because they're engaged in targeting an absolute stranger. I don't know them, but they know a lot about me. They know when I'm moving. They know where I'm going. They know where I've been, and they are engaged in criminal cooperative presence and making sure that I am at no time ever not surrounded, all right, physically and or audibly and with any manner of light and or visible activity. So that is a psychopath, okay? And then it's also a psychopath to listen to your own criminal activity that is not a secret to that targeted individual anymore. That's a psychopath listening to their own criminal conduct. It is a psychopath listening to an absolute stranger. They're a stranger to me. Inside of a private space, listening to them undress, listening to them use the toilet, listening to them do whatever it is that they're doing inside of a private space, because that's what it's supposed to be. And understand where the target individual is being monitored inside of their home, okay, that is the same conduct. It's even more disgusting and demented. That's a psychopath, all right? That is a psychopath that's engaged in walking all around with their children in their Mercedes-Benz, whatever you want to caricaturize as normal or caricaturize as that which is so far-fetched from being a stalker. You can put it whatever you want inside of that blank space, because that is a psychopath. That is the actual picture of a psychopath. Taking on that or trying, it's an utter fail, because I'm showing you, first of all, you're a psychopath because you're sitting around walking hand in hand with your kid when you came around the corner and you're engaging in stalking with activity at the same time that I'm pressing the screen on my phone, engaging in that behavioral pattern while planes are flying over repeatedly, having no business flying over a senior center and a senior citizen apartment complex. I don't think so. I do not think so. This is, while the state is literally flying in circles all day and night, as I've shown, over a senior apartment complex. Okay, that's P.O.C. That's why they're all engaging in this conduct under what is a fake sun. Those are psychopaths. Psychopaths. Understand, when I started documenting what was obviously not the sun to me, that's what brought it to my attention. In the same way, I'm seeing police everywhere I'm going, even when I'm moving out of San Bernardino County to a different county. I'm noticing this, and that's why I started documenting it. I'm noticing all of a sudden airplanes are frequently flying over my car all day and night, following me into different cities. So I kept a journal of that, started writing it, started capturing video of that. That's why I started documenting it, okay? And this all started in May of, not the plane conduct. The plane specifically started after I moved to Los Angeles County, and I started documenting as of December 19th, 2018, while I was parked living in my car in Pomona, understand nowhere near an Ontario airport like group stalkers want to claim. It has nothing to do with that at all. That is clear stalking. They were flying in lines over my vehicle all day and all night. Helicopters over my vehicle all day and all night. The same thing that I've documented parked at 714 North Vine in Ontario, where they were flying over my car all day and all night. That is not a coincidence. All right. And the ongoing, that's group stalking via aircraft. The people of the state of California are group stalking on foot, group stalking at their job, group stalking in their uniform, in their commercial vehicles, with their little group stalking kids, that they're taking them as props while they're monitoring American citizens. Understand, the picture of normalcy is totally obliterated. There is nothing normal. Group stalkers shall be prosecuted, and you're going to understand how you're going to, with a fine-tooth comb, everything that they engage in. You don't have the liberty to do that. You're going to be prosecuted for it. You don't have the liberty, or you can, because they are, but they're going to be prosecuted for it. That's the thing. Because when you're a public entity monitoring American citizens, oh, you want to just walk into the bathroom while you're monitoring? You're not a normal person. You are the government. And you know that because you're monitoring the documentation. You're a psychopath and a pervert on top of that. And you're going to be prosecuted for that as well. What you are doing is you are with a very fine-tooth comb everything, every act, every course of conduct that they're engaged in, because it's not normal. You don't have the liberty to just engage in that when you're monitoring. You have the audacity to do those things when you're monitoring. All right, so this is why it's serving, and it is worthy of federal prosecution, and this is what I'm addressing. And it is absolutely necessary. Understand that is a threat. Keeping a fake sun over you, and you are aware that you're being monitored. You have this directed light inside of the venue when you're going to use the bathroom. You are aware that you're being monitored as you are pulling off your clothes as you're using the bathroom. And you know that they're listening, engaging in this same method of audible activity indoors while you are physically indisposed, and light that's not coming from the sun, aiming all inside of the building. This is an absolutely demonic and psychopath environment that the targeted individual is surrounded with. All right? And understand the people of the state of California engaging in what is group passive-aggressive stalking, all right? You can walk past if you want to, walk past with the kids, jingle your keys while you're doing so. You can honk your horn and keep your van in reverse for hours. You can do all of that. You're going to be prosecuted for it. This is the ways in which they are monitoring. It is absolutely pathetic, and that is why federal prosecution is going to very fiercely prosecute for that conduct that you don't have the liberty to engage in. Those are the federal repercussions of a public entity monitoring, and the people of the state shall be systematically prosecuted as they systematically monitor as a group. All right. That's P.O.C. Those psychopaths are listening to what is coming in court. They will be individually named and corporately identified as the perverts, and the psychopaths. Understand, you're talking about psychopaths based on conduct. Everything that I just described to you is absolutely abnormal conduct. Abnormal. And like I've already given the context, understand the context is that this is a demonic system. This whole light business, understand this is demonic. This is demonically inspired. Having shadows appearing on the column, what I am describing is that which is not only impossible light activity, which is prefacing the existence of a system, it's identifying what is a third party, it is speaking to what is monitoring with communication devices, yes. But understand, the security guard's shadow appearing on the column when your shadow should be appearing on the ground, understand that's demonic. That is demonically inspired. It is serving a criminal purpose, but you need to understand what this environment is about. And it has existed in plain sight because the state has engaged in what is everything that I am stripping down. You've got them as employees monitoring you. And the outward guise is that they're doing their job. That's the outward guise. But guess what? When you determine and understand how a public entity is monitoring and how you're doing so, the elements, it does not matter what uniform you're wearing because the elements remain. And not only that, the state that is stalking, it's stalking because it's monitoring. What is understood about what is federal group stalking and monitoring, where the public entity is monitoring, the people of the state are monitoring as well. That is the pattern of conduct. I am showing you how these pathetic criminals act as a group, and they're monitoring, and I'm stripping down. You can have whatever you want in your hand. You can wear whatever uniform you want. You can act like you're consumed with whatever it is you want. You're under a fake sun. You are around where the state is stalking and focused on my location, engaged in an ongoing pattern of conduct, a very targeted conduct, all right? You're around where there's a circus of lights all over the place, that which is totally abnormal, even if that was the sun that is remaining present over me all day long where you're present. You're engaged in monitoring, period. Anything that you're doing, mowing the grass, blowing the leaves, not only is that the creation of audible activity, right? That's the federal prosecution. That's the analysis. I am showing how it is entirely malicious conduct. They're psychopaths. Where the public entity is monitoring, the people of the state are monitoring. And that is what the evidence demonstrates. It is 5:22 p.m. And so that was a little bit of explanation as to everything that I have captured. I have completed documentation. I am focused on the City of Ontario, which understand the City of Ontario represents the people of the state. The City of Ontario is nothing but the municipality, really, engaging in its use of its job, what it does, its trade, the company, the brand, whatever you want to recognize it as. It's something other than the individual. Under federal group stalking and monitoring federal legislation, the people of the state is not limited to an individual who I have substantially documented these psychopaths via license plate, address, and or image. You're talking about also identifying them by the business under which they're monitoring American citizens, that brand, that company, that municipality, if you will. That is the significance of using your vehicles, using your airplanes, using your business establishment, using your title, your uniform, your professional skill set. That's what medical professionals do. Those that are engaged in criminal defamation, understand that's what I documented inside while I was kidnapped at West Valley Glen Helen Rehabilitation Center. Those quote unquote medical work, I don't call them medical professionals because they are an abysmal disgrace. They're criminals bearing those titles of that medical profession. They're criminals engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, engaged in kidnapping, and engaged in criminal defamation, using their professional training in order to engage in the P.O.C, which is criminal obstruction of justice via criminal defamation. All right, knows very well who I am, monitoring me in concert with the people of the state, with the deputies, the state flying over, the state aiming light inside of the jail, much like the circus of lights as I described, the state aiming light all over the walls, all over the cells, as I've already spoken to, inside of the cell, changing the color of that which is supposed to be sunlight, and understand that is not the sun, that is beside, because there are no windows in the ceiling of the jail. I'm speaking specifically about West Valley. But what you have are 5 little thin slots of window, which are designed so that the inmates can see the sky. There is no sun aiming through those windows, okay? And not only that, the slot windows are on the wall. Okay, so this is requiring the sun to be literally next to those 5 slot windows. But not just that, the state engaged in aiming light through those windows, which, again, the guise under which it's doing this is supposed to be the sun. This is supposed to be sunlight. From one side of the unit, all over that wall, onto the second floor, and this is beaming, bright, radiant, large manifestation of light remaining for hours from one side of the unit all over that wall onto the second floor, the entirety of that unit, and that light just continued to just move on down to the first floor, and it engaged in varying, as I pointed it out to the camera, the state literally changed the directions that it was aiming the light. It wasn't even consistent. It was by the stairs, then it wasn't by the stairs anymore, then it moved straight back to the wall, and then at other times when I was inside of a different cell in the same unit, the states focused its light at that unit, and I'm talking about when I was inside of, I believe it was 15E as in Edward, or E as in Erica. While I'm inside of what it was 15E3 or E4, the state is aiming its fake sunlight, that's directed light, okay, onto that edge and concentrating it there. But when I move to a different cell on the opposite side of the unit, this is where the state is aiming its concentrated light over there, all right? The same psychopath conduct, all right? I have literally been to every type of venue that you can fathom where the same behavioral pattern is underway, where the public entity is monitoring, and that is already proven, okay? The people of the state are monitoring. And I am showing how this, we understand what a government engaged in that sort of criminal conduct is appropriately characterized, but let me go ahead and a little further. Understand that's not just criminal, that's not just corrupt, that's not just bankrupt, that is demonic, and it is psychopath conduct, and that is what the people of the state are engaged in. And what I am showing is how, first of all, I'm going to prosecute you even more profusely as you engage in monitoring with whatever props you want to have in your hand. I'm going to expose you as the wildly corrupt and psychopath group that you are, engaging in all the ways in which you maintain presence, activity, and light activity. Light. While the state is, you're all present, a psychopath. They know this isn't the sun. They know that. They know that light is shooting all over the place as they're driving. That's why they are driving at the moment that they are. They happen to be driving with simultaneity to my activity while light just appears out of nowhere like someone's flashing pictures. Okay? I'm sitting under the side of the light. It's literally ridiculous at this point. Okay? So what you have is the public entity that is not throwing me into a mental ward, because this is how it keeps what is very unintelligent. It does not take an attorney to break this down. It might take an attorney to legislate, but it does not take an attorney to break this down, okay? The people of the state are not they're not all college educated. You're talking about your average bum. You're talking about some at-home mom. You're talking about some librarian. You're talking about some deputy that only has an AA. You're talking about some dumpster truck man, whatever job they are. They don't have to be the elite, and they are not. They're everyday people engaged in criminal conduct on behalf of the entity, all right? And the entity's conduct is very unsophisticated. And you are not able to silence a targeted individual when you are not able to engage in what is criminal defamation and kidnapping, throwing them into a mental ward. All right? Keeping that criminal conduct forever concealed, because that's the purpose of that. That's what Lisa Rogan was engaged in. That's what West Valley Central Detention Center, that's what Glen Helen Rehabilitation Center, that's what they were engaged in. That's what all of those deputies who I still have yet to name, I'm going to name them individually, but that entire venue, they are all engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, kidnapping, sexual assault and battery, corporate invasion of privacy. They're all engaged in criminal defamation, all right? But I am going to go through that task and individually name them because they need to be exposed as the psychopath criminals that they are while they're bearing those badges, okay? Seeking as though they are engaged in something else, something honorable. And they're disgusting criminals. They're the same disgusting criminals that are listening over here at the library, listening to me use the bathroom. They're the same brand, all right? And they're engaged. And how are you getting to that? Because of the conduct. The public entity that is monitoring via the people of the state. That's P.O.C., period. All right. It is currently 5:30 p.m. And that was the state, as I foretold, because I am already very familiar with the state's pattern of conduct. And I also know that the state is relying on its fake sun to maintain concentrated light activity for purposes of monitoring. This is why you have a fake sun present all day. And even when it's cloudy, which is the state tampering with the environment, literally, there is no circumstance under where the state does not bust out with its fake sun at the drop of a dime, even through the rain, okay? So what you have is, even when it's nightfall, even when it's cloudy, even when it's raining, and I put all of those in quotation marks, this is an entity engaged in ongoing tampering with the deliberately designed environment around the targeted individual. That's what the state is engaged in. Nothing is as what it seems, meaning nothing is to be presumed as that which is just ordinary. This is why a group stalker is going to be prosecuted for walking into the bathroom while you're monitoring. You're already monitoring, and then you want to go the step further and enter in. That's a communication of a threat. Understand everything that you're doing. Everything that you're doing, you're going to break all of that down. It will be an entirely profuse prosecution. Every single last one of them. Understand it's malicious monitoring, and I am engaged in what I call a righteous malice. I have a righteous malice. In the same way that they are maliciously monitoring and acting as though everything is all good, I'm just documenting them, all right? Dealing with Ontario police, understand that's a communication of a threat while I'm engaged in documentation. Bringing around an Ontario police officer that has not put their hands on me, that has not harassed overtly, that has engaged in superficial acts of appearing as though they're helping me while they're monitoring me, okay? Understand, the ordinary target individual is subject to a threat, and it does not change because you put a smiley face, or because you paint it pink, or because you throw glitter on it, or because you add some cream in the middle of it. It does not change to be, it's still P.O.C. Understand, my ability to cope with what is occurring is necessary in order to document, in order to prosecute, in order to establish precedent. That's what this is. It does not change whatsoever. Identifying the threat is identifying the threat. And the ordinary target individual that does not have such established documentation, not with the same capability, if you will, to even conjure up what is happening to them. And understand, I'm not saying I just woke up, oh, I know exactly what's going on. I was very, very bewildered by what I was observing, and that is why, even to myself, for my own, I started documenting everything. All right, this is why I did so. And it's serving a purpose. Because just like with an ordinary stalker, even though the government is no ordinary stalker, but it is based on that basic understanding. If you want to prove anyone is stalking you, you document it. All right, you do not have to. You're talking about the public entity. That's the one that's monitoring you. That's the stalker. The stalker is acting via the people. You're seeing all the ways in which the people, the psychopath acting as a group corporately, are engaged in monitoring you. Okay? Well, whatever job they're doing, whatever uniform they're wearing, whatever vehicle they're driving, whatever plane the state is using that belongs to them, that's flying over your head and everywhere that you're at. All right. It's 5:33 p.m. and that's been the ongoing stalking conduct. That's a direct incrimination of the people of the state. That is going toward prosecution of not only third parties, but also those planes that the state is stalking in. All right. Every single aspect of it is subject to prosecution. And as I started this podcast, as I started the video, and that's where the video ended, because I took such a long video, which you need. This is the value of the documentation, because I'm literally explaining the impossibility of what was at that time in the middle of the afternoon. And then, I mean, if you break that down, you think about it, literally you're aiming light inside of the library, which is covered it's covered with a shade, a structure that extends well before the door, okay? And you've got light that is into the depths of the building. This is during the entirety of the day, aiming it onto the floor inside, underneath that structure. That's the P.O.C. I've shown you how the state engages in literally invading with light. And that is that which is within the pattern of conduct. You have this during the day, in the morning, in the afternoon, while I go in the afternoon to use the restroom. This is documentation of sexual violence, okay? While I'm going in to use the restroom, the state is aiming light onto the, just because it's glass doors does not mean that light, it's just so idiotic. But you're literally talking about just desperate, continuous criminal conduct. And all they're going to do is just monitor the documentation. Literally engaging in ongoing monitoring, seeking to stop my ability to prosecute in federal court. They're not going to stop that. That is inevitable. They're literally sitting around hunting. And when I say you're not looking at an average third party that's walking their dog, that is a super duper thirsty stalker that is making sure they maintain presence in the path, okay? Keeping their face straight, keeping their eyes on their dog, whatever they're doing to outward appear as though it's anything else. Understand, they are thirsty mongers. All they're doing is stalking, just like you hear the state doing in airplanes, just like you see the state doing with its light source. They are equally thirsty, and it is pathetic, because they're doing so as they are literally watching and monitoring everything I'm doing on my phone, making sure I'm not contacting the FBI, making sure I'm not reporting them to the Department of Justice. They're not stopping that federal prosecution. They're hunting and looking for an ongoing monitoring in order to do so, but they're literally monitoring the documentation, the evidence against it, and this is the public entity that, to the very end, at that federal prosecution, this is why you've got that irrebuttable presumption of public corruption. Where a public entity is monitoring you, the people of the state are monitoring. That is necessary. That irrebuttable presumption is absolutely necessary upon establishing that prima facie case of federal group stalking and monitoring by a public entity. The public entity monitors via the people. Okay, so I have what is the entirety of this day starts with documenting the people. Okay, the stalker is already known. The state of California is the stalker. The people of the state of California are stalkers as well. The people of the state of California stalking and monitoring via the city of Ontario. And that's what I was capturing in video. Follow me up and down the street as I'm walking on Holt Boulevard. And that's why I go through the extent you want to monitor me, I will document you and expose you as such. So I get his face, I get that vehicle, I get that conduct, I get all of that. Okay, because you are engaged in a ridiculously egregious crime, and you have I am the one that is stripping down all of the elements. There is no guise under which the elements are not present. You are literally focused on elements, understand how the ability to detract the conduct from the face. All right, we'll deal with the identity later. You're looking at the conduct. All right, but not only that, then you're going to analyze the conduct. Not only are you monitoring, but then you're going to do so while you're monitoring my documentation of you. You're communicating a threat. And not only that, your commercial vehicle, your uniforms, your activity is just going to be another means of exposing you as a stalker you are with that company that's monitoring American citizens, that municipality that's monitoring and harassing and threatening American citizens because you know exactly what I documented. You're monitoring, right? And that is that which that's already established. I am not at this point, I am not establishing the state's pattern of conduct. The state is stalking. That's already established. The state is engaged in group stalking. I'm giving you a definition. Why is the state stalking? Because it's monitoring. How is it monitoring? Let me show you how. That's what I'm doing. Let me show you who it's doing through. So who it is doing that through. The people of the state. This is established as well. I'm showing you all the malicious, pathetic tactics that they engage in while doing so. Okay? That's all I'm doing. It's context. It's going to, you're understanding what is that of a psychopath. All right. What is very possible for psychopaths to be operating as a group together. It's not only possible, that's what the case is. All right. It is 5:39 p.m. And that was the entirety of the day. The state's fake sun remaining over the senior center and engaged in literally moving nowhere. OK, except for when I moved. And what you'll see is that in the pictures. At different times of the day, in the morning it's moving, and then in the afternoon it's in the same location where it had already moved before. So if I go from the senior center to 280 North Lemon, or if the state's fake sun moves there, and then in the afternoon it remains there after going back to the senior center and then engaging in this negligible migration, what is supposed to be west, it's literally remaining over the building. Literally, while aiming light underneath the shaded area over the entrance of the Ontario OVITT Family Library. Okay, it's just ridiculous, but that's a pattern of conduct. Understand? And they're doing that because they're monitoring me. All right, the people of the state are monitoring. 5:39 p.m. and that is P.O.C. That is the sixth time it's flying over in a circle repeatedly. That's called patrolling over the museum on the side that I'm on. That's the helicopter. Group stalkers in traffic, sitting around in their cars, walking around on the streets, monitoring, stalking just like the state is in a helicopter. It's 10:05 p.m. That's P.O.C. Right now, you'll see a large truck with a white trailer, dark brown face, driving north on Euclid Avenue, approaching Holt Boulevard, and the helicopter's flying over my head while traffic is going south down on the opposite side of Euclid Avenue. This is P.O.C. Understand, this is ongoing all night long. The state alternating between the state stalking with its sirens. They're not going anywhere. They're just sounding sirens because they're monitoring. Then the helicopter, then the train, then the plane, then a psychopath using their car, which is concerted conduct with the state as it makes it super duper loud. And then the grounds at the museum are literally vibrating. It's ridiculous as the state's fake sun. And what you have is the state is flying over this museum. That's what you heard. Doing it 6 times. And the coward and the criminal, this is the sex offender that wants to touch all over you and then wants to shut itself up once it hears you recording it, even though I have hours and hours of video, audio, and pictures of it doing that same exact conduct. But that's how pathetic this entity is. It is nothing respectable whatsoever. And every third party that I document, and every state actor that I document, and every company acting on behalf of the same entity. It's a pathetic cowardice that I am constantly approached with, and that's why the helicopter that was flying around in a circle, like the psychopath that it is, stops the moment I start recording. All right, that's P.O.C, and that is ongoing incriminating conduct against the people of the state of California who are monitoring with the state, that are stalking at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, flying in a repeated circle over the museum as I remain here. That's P.O.C, and hold on, now we've got the coward, no less of a coward, but here it is now. The same videos that I've already captured, this psychopath in a helicopter, that's light activity, that's audible activity, that's relevant positioning. That psychopath is group stalking in a helicopter. Like the psychopath you saw with City of Ontario, group stalking in a dumpster, group stalking in a helicopter, that is a psychopath monitoring. No less of a coward either. The psychopath is listening to me criticize and scrutinize how pathetic it is, as I'm going to also use this to prosecute it. And then it engages in what is flying on the opposite side. That's P.O.C, all right? That's more audible activity. The same coward. Group stalking in airplanes, okay? Group stalking in dumpster trucks. Group stalking in their cars. You would think the people of California have something to do. They don't have anything else to do. I am literally the center of their universe. And guess what? They are still going to be prosecuted, all of them. I'm going to prosecute every single last one of them. That's the state flying over by plane and helicopter. That's what this is documentation of. Okay? White SUV driving north on Euclid Avenue. They're all patrolling. They're crossing path. That's monitoring. Understand right now, this is just a time capsule of what I'm documenting. This is ongoing all night. It's 10:08 p.m. and you're looking at traffic. You're looking at federal group stalking and monitoring. They're monitoring. The state is flying over them while they're driving in traffic. Right? Those are the psychopaths, the same conduct under the fake sun, while they got planes and helicopters flying all around them, acting like, like nothing's going on. They're psychopaths, and this is the state of California engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. That's what they're doing in traffic, and this is what they're doing in the airspace directly above the traffic. All that traffic, they're monitoring, and they're hiding around on the museum grounds. The state is in their police cars, fire trucks, ambulance. This is documentation. This is that which I've already established, and that's what they're doing right now while they are all listening to my every word. It is pathetic, all right? But that's what they're doing, and they're literally just making noise all night long while they are obsessed with me, and that is not something to flatter myself. That is what their conduct is proving. That is an obsession. That is an ongoing determination to be where I'm at, to touch on me, to be around me, to follow me around. That's an obsession, and this is by a group, all right? And this is by a group that is in helicopters and airplanes and police vehicles. All of them just hanging on my every word right now as I speak. Okay? And as you listen to it, as I publish this, you will be witnessing that which they are hanging on the edge of the seats hanging on the edge of their seats as they're listening to me utter. Understand, this is the documentation of the federal group stalking and monitoring at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts as the state is engaging in what is patrolling over me in helicopter, while what are the people of the state of California are patrolling via traffic. It's light activity, it's relevant positioning, it's audible activity. It is in concert with the state that's stalking via aircraft. They're all remaining in relevant position. Right? That's federal group stalking and monitoring. It's 10:10 p.m.